Welcome to Lunch with Stormy. We're in season 4 and I'm traveling across America with my best friend Josh. Really,
hey everybody.
Hi. He always says hi. And today we're meeting with this beautiful family, Krista, Bella, and Kai. And they have quite a story to share. Probably the most, as we've started this trip, the most excited I am to talk to anybody because it's such, I want to say this is groundbreaking that you're leading and paving a way, which you are. But the sad part is it took this long. Like everyone, before they didn't have all these beautiful, amazing
support.
People. Yeah, support and confidence moving forward. So we're going to talk about Kai, that is transitioning, and I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm going to let the family talk about it because I think that's where it belongs in their words, not mine, not Josh's.
Absolutely.
And that's what we'll do. We'll get started with you guys.
Yay.
So, Kai, you're 11.
Yep.
Bella just turned 13. You're 21, Mom, right?
Yeah.
Do that math.
Yeah. For the last couple of decades.
It's a couple, looking great. And we're in Las Vegas, and we're so happy that we got together with you guys. I can tell anyone the past 10 minutes, I know who's going to be doing Lunch Across America next, and it's Kai. That I can go with him, at least on a couple routes.
Yep.
But,
we need you to hurry up and get your license. You know how to drive it too.
Bella's going to drive.
Yep.
3 years, 36 months she'll be taking
Yep,
care of.
perfect.
But I want to talk to you and, forgive any ignorance that I have on the right words to use. I think I'm okay on the pronouns, but if I say anything that might seem discriminatory or offensive, it's because I don't know better. I'm in my 50s, and so I came from a family where we didn't even know this, know these things were happening until I got older. And that, little human souls were going through different experiences than my own, outside of just being gay,
Yeah.
So as we go through this, just forgive us. Forgive me. He'll probably be better at it as a gay guy. Some gay guy.
Yeah, just some gay white guy.
Gay guy. He does his best. Yeah, you're not so fancy anymore, are you? We're making the bar on the
Yeah.
counter. But Kai, what was your name when you were born?
Mia.
Mia? And when, I'm so curious as to being born and not associating with your body. Is that the right way to say it? Your mind doesn't match your body,
Yeah.
And how old were you when you first started realizing that it just didn't feel
Like
right?
something wasn't.
So, I believe 2nd grade, I started seeing other girls who would dress like boys, act like boys. I would just think they're tomboys, but I never really associated myself as a tomboy. I always thought in my mindset, I feel like on the inside, I am a boy, And I started wearing boy clothes, even though clothes I would say have a gender. I cut my hair short, which is kind of a thing, but...
Love the haircut, by the way. It looks
I do.
really dapper.
Yeah. It's really good.
And yes, I just started associating myself as a boy.
But that's who you were inside.
Yeah.
So you really just started breaking the box of, I have been identified as a girl, so I wear dresses, or I wear, you're wearing a dress because you want to wear a dress and you look amazing with those boots, right? I love these and you love these, but it's more about that.
Yeah, and I would say we always knew that we had 2 amazing, exceptional kids. We joke all the time that Bella came out, as a little kid that was just, they were both really old souls.
Yeah.
And
You
so
can
we
feel it.
Yeah, you just, when they would speak, it was you could just tell. They're wise beyond their years. And definitely, for Kai was really clear. We weren't really sure I wouldn't say anyone in our family is normal. We're all different characters. And so I think we've always really worked really hard, because I grew up in a really small town where differences were not celebrated. And so, you know, I've lived in Las Vegas most of my adult life, and that's what I love about Las Vegas, because everyone's a character and no one's from here, and it's all sparkly and
everybody,
glitter.
you can find your space. I love it.
Yeah, and so I think, you know, for the kids, especially growing up here, we always really encourage them. So, you know, when Kai he was going back to school for 2nd grade, said, I want a boy haircut, we were like, okay, and we just did that. And I don't think we really had a lot of clarity, you know, whether that was going to be a butch lesbian or if it was going to be a transition. It was just whatever was going to happen, we were going to love him through it. And then Bella came out as a lesbian, as queer, when she was 9. At the old age of 9, and I was like, well, all right, we're on our way. And I remember calling my friends in the LGBTQ community and saying, okay, what do I do now, right? I was ready, because for me it was always about being the best parent I could be. So we were going to be Pride parents, by God, we were going to be in floats, and we've won best float the last 2 years in the Las Vegas Pride Parade. I was like, we're taking pictures in front of balloon penises, like we are doing this, right? And so these guys have really grown up with a far different definition of acceptance and experience of unconditional love. And so Kai kind of knew how that was for Bella, and you know, for you, even as a sibling, it was a good example for Kai, but it was still really stressful for you, right?
Definitely. I was nervous. I was stressed on. I had to talk to my friends first about it. They were fully accepting. It was just so hard to come out, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like a sequence.
And it's a process. It's a journey for everyone, and you have to do it on your own terms. And like you said, you know, going back to 2nd grade, you weren't sure. You know, you want to let them figure it out. You don't want to, you know, influence it. Right. And you know, one thing I think is great is, you know, you both come from such a supportive family. You know, I know your mom personally. She's such an amazing person, and you know, it is sad because there are a lot of kids that go through it that don't have that support. Do you either of you have any friends that are either queer or trans that don't really have the kind of family support that you guys have at home?
Yes, I have multiple. And I knew kids in my class who had outright told me some of the things that their parents would say to them straight up that were just, I couldn't believe a parent could say some things that they had said to me. And I had some friends even during quarantine whose parents, they'd come out, because of course I would tell them my story, and they'd be like, oh, I can tell my parents then. Tell them, and then they'd tell me that their parents had said some things that I could never imagine. Because it's just something that when you grow up in a household like mine where we were super accepting and mom was like, all right, let's go to Pride, let's go win some awards, and let's stand in front of these balloons.
I can only imagine how many gay uncles you guys have, right?
Yeah. Being surrounded by that, and then hearing from my friends that their parents outright yelled at them over something that they can't control, that their parents didn't accept them or told them they were in the wrong because of that, is so shocking, and it's kind of heartbreaking.
It's extremely heartbreaking. Especially you guys are so young to be so in tune.
Right. Some people don't figure that out their whole lives, you know?
And I want to touch back when you said, so I had asked Josh today, what does queer mean? Because I don't know what the Q stands for, because I said, and I think it's important to talk openly because it's hard subjects and we're so afraid to offend each other as grown-ups. Oh my God.
I get that. Same here.
So I just want to have conversation where I can ask these questions and be like know the answers. But what is queer that's not within LGBT or T? Like,
queer is, from what I know, and of course the way I describe it and I talk about it is, it's the term of when you hear gender queer or just queer in general, you're still questioning and you're still in the middle. You're not certain. So someone who's gender queer, they're not certain about whether or not they're a guy or a girl. So when he was going through when he was talking about, he thought he was just a tomboy or whether or not he was or he wasn't, he would have been identified as gender queer because he was not certain. For me, I'm queer because I'm not certain. I don't want to put myself in a category or a label of like, I definitely like women, I definitely like guys, I don't know.
Right.
I'm letting it
You're
happen.
right. I am queer.
Yeah, I told her. I was like, "You're queer," and she was like, "I'm not queer," and I was like, "I think you are."
I think you're questioning, and I said I'm not questioning anything.
Well,
I know exactly where I stand. I love souls. I could date a transgender. I could
Well,
date
yeah, we had that conversation
Yeah,
yesterday, and Stormy said if she met someone and fell in love with them, she would have no problem.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Trans man, trans woman, like whatever that connection
Whatever
ended up
that
being.
connection was, what
Yeah.
their soul was, but I didn't consider myself anything but me.
Well, this is the thing
Yeah.
too, is like Gen Xer, millennial. What comes after that?
Yeah.
Z, Gen Z.
Yeah, Gen
So
Z.
it's like you touched on before, like when you were growing up, it wasn't even a thing, and people didn't really even talk about gayness, as a good thing.
Right.
And then when I was coming up, it was a little bit more open. You know what I mean? Like I still grew up in a conservative home. My dad's a pastor. All that's great now. You know what I mean? But it was a
A
process.
lot of Christianity.
A lot of Christianity, and I went to high school in I grew up in Baltimore City, but then went to high school in a rural area in the county. Lots of, I don't want to use an offensive term,
Then don't say it, just rural.
rural people that drive trucks and have the do horns.
Yeah.
So like for me, coming out in high school was not really an option, even though I knew who I was. And again, growing
At
up,
how old?
when I came out I was 17 years old.
Yeah, but when were you?
When did I realize I was gay? I think I always
Yeah,
knew.
it's kind of like a subconscious thing. You always know,
Mhm.
but you're not entirely certain until you've learned about
Right.
it.
Old enough?
It was Marky Mark in the Calvin Klein underwear. That solidified. I was like, yep, that's on the menu.
Yes to all of that.
Right, but it's just like
Me too.
the different generations. It's been an evolution, and now this generation that we're in now, even for me as a gay man, there's learning that I'm still doing every day. You know what I mean? Like now it's LGBTQIA+. Which we looked up today, and it like I sometimes call us, the alphabet mafia.
Yeah, I'd like to be included, but turns out that was my whole thing. I was like, why am I not included?
And I'm like, I think you are.
LGBTQ, or whatever.
And A is also because they have allies as well.
Yeah,
Allies,
yeah,
asexual, and you're definitely an ally, if not, queer. But I think
I
you're
know, I
queer
think
too.
we're probably.
But it's an evolution, and now it's like you're seeing this whole wave of just gender fluidity, and like you touched on the clothes. Like clothes are not really
Yeah.
gendered. If a guy wants to wear a dress, let him wear a dress, even if he's a straight guy and he just
Yeah.
likes wearing a dress or a skirt.
Or likes it.
But it's like that evolution, and it's just been really great to see. And all these people, it's not that there's all these people that are now newly this, it's just people are comfortable being open about it.
Yeah, that's the nice thing.
And the kids, I would tell you, it's not just, these two, obviously I'm biased, they're my favorites, but I have to tell you, Bella's 12th birthday last year, a bunch of 6th graders, and, there's, every color of the rainbow, boys, girls, all of them there at, Red Robin, we're having cheeseburgers. And my friend sitting next to me said, so what do they all have in common? And what she didn't realize is a lot of them were not necessarily out to their parents.
Gotcha.
But it was like the Rainbow Brigade, which was amazing. And, I have really had to do a lot of learning as well as a parent because I've raised them in such an accepting environment. I didn't realize the stats. 1 in 3 transgender youth are going to experience homelessness. And Bella has had her friends that have run away from home because they're in such a hostile environment.
12 years old.
And well, that's why they say now, I used to always tell the kids to tell their friends, oh, come out, be proud, celebrate who you are. And I really realized what a privileged statement that is to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
My advice now is safety first.
Right.
If you have to stay in
Yes.
the closet until you are safe and in a safe environment, because just the abuse, and I think that's what's been heartbreaking for the kids, is to run into other kids that consider themselves part of the LGBTQ community, and they don't just suffer abuse from the outside. It's not just bullies. It's sometimes bullies in their own 4 walls, where their dad says, boys don't cry, or,
Do a girl push-up.
yeah, or when they're
Stuff
outwardly,
like
their
that.
family will support, oh, well, gays are fine, but you're not gay, you're just confused.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a
I
lot.
heard stuff like that so many
Right,
times.
because you're young. That's
Yeah.
part of what.
Which is something that I find interesting, talking about that, especially hearing it from my mom, and when you guys were talking about how you grew up, is like mom talking about how she's still learning and how she had to change what she was advising versus me, who's gonna grow up and like by the time I'm my mom's age, I will know not to say that because I've had friends and I was the one who heard all that. and I've been surrounded by it much more. And
Well,
it's
they've been going to gay weddings since they were little.
Yeah, I love
They
it.
don't imagine that they're shocked that that was ever illegal. They're like, what was
That's
wrong
how
with you
my
people?
sons are.
Yeah.
So when they were little, before they went to kindergarten, because I grew up in a small rural county, very much Mormon, and we were not Mormon. So, I heard things like you pray for a baby. If you pray really hard, you'll get a baby. And that's where babies come from. And, my mom I knew where babies came from. So, things like that. And I didn't want my kids to hear things that weren't true. And so when we talked about marriage, I'd always say, oh, it's between a man and a woman, 2 women, 2 men. So when gay marriage came up in 2013, and my boys are like 25, they were like, oh God. They didn't really realize, they thought we grew up thinking they
was a
could
thing
get
already.
married. Yeah, we just thought they could be married.
Well, and now, I mean, we think about, a lot of those things that were challenges that felt, the fact that we ever had to have campaigns to make gay marriage legal.
Yeah.
And the fear was very much that it would ruin the sanctity of marriage. And clearly it has not. And now we find in the trans community that there's this ongoing conversation that, people are very much concerned that, a bunch of boys are going to decide to be women and transition to being women to take over athletics. And you've got people like Martina Navratilova.
College courses.
You've got,
Yes.
right, but you have like leaders that, again, come from a different generation that are sure that this is going to take away women's athletics. And, then you do the real data and the research, and that's not it at all. And I'm shocked even, I got into it, I never stepped into the village of Facebook and like fight fights.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, but as a mama bear, I was I was the village witch the other day. And what was shocking was it was a group of, and a good friend who's amazing, she's a lesbian based in LA, and it was one of her white, gay, WeHo friends. And I, of course, again, made that assumption that, well, we're all LGBTQIA together. Like, of course you're going to support, transgender, men and women in athletics. And he was not having it. And I think that's what I realized. And, a lot of my really close friends and gay couples said to me, Krista, you can't just lump not all gay people are one. I've just been around somebody that share my beliefs of equality and acceptance and, who remember those old days of those challenges. And so, it's such an overwhelmingly positive experience for us that, I hope more people continue to share their stories and do that from a safe place, because I think that's how you really challenge this idea that a bunch of like male bodybuilders are going to decide to go transition.
That's a lot to go through to win a wrestling match,
Gold medal.
And I think Caitlyn Jenner, really to that point, come on, Caitlyn Jenner didn't all of a sudden decide to go like, let's do the Olympics now as a woman. Like, that's just not reality.
Right.
And a lot of times, again, people fear what's scary and different. And for them, a lot of times, trans is like, oh my gosh, a guy in a dress. They're really missing that big picture.
Were you, Krista, raised Christian, to be Christian?
Oh gosh, I can quote Bible scripture at you, up one side, down the other. Oh yeah, I graduated from a high school of 60 people in our graduating class. I can tip a cow, shoot tobacco.
You were.
Oh yeah, super. I was raised, in rural Washington
And so
State.
why were there no restrictions on your, definitely with your children, but even your gay uncles or whomever, where that gay...
Oh gosh, I never knew anyone
crossed.
who was out and gay until I moved to Las Vegas.
Wow.
I didn't know anybody who was Jewish either, for that matter. That's how not...
But did you feel like it was a sin with the Christian upbringing? Like, did you have any struggles with that? Because that's what we get with the Mormon community, is that...
Yeah, I think, I grew up in a really small town with very, very conservative family that was sure that you live your life one way. You go, you get a job. My mom was a nurse at the same hospital for 35 plus years. My dad was a teacher at the same high school. You go to college, you do all these things, you join the union. These are all good American values, right? And I always felt, as an entrepreneur, I definitely am an ally. I always say I'm the boring cis white lady at the table. I always felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. I walk fast, I talk fast, I have crazy ideas. I think I can go start a business and we'll just do it from scratch from my living room. And that doesn't scare me. What scares me is the cubicle and joining the union. And again, I'm pro-union, but my fears were much different than anyone that I grew up with. And so I think that's why I intentionally sought out the LGBTQ community here in Las Vegas, and why I sought out people who are different, because I was like, well, oh my gosh, you think weird like me. Let's go be weird together. And then
open.
And coming full circle, I've since, of course, through social media, reconnected with a lot of people I grew up with who have since left our home community and were most certainly gay. I was just didn't see it, and they were certainly not out at that time.
Right.
That now they're out and fabulous, and they've been wonderful supports. But I think that's why it always appealed to me. So I think, as a parent, I think we become who we are because of who we come from or in spite of. Mm-hmm. And I'm a great story of I became who I am in spite of all of those that upbringing. And my kids are really becoming who they are, I think, because they've been encouraged to flourish and do who they are. So.
Now, are you still close with your family? Or
not at all, they're anti-cannabis. So that, and I'm so grateful, I think I worried at the time, that, oh my gosh, some of them have never even met Kai. So that's great. When they do, they'll just be, it'll be perfect eventually. When they do come around, or they've got dementia or something. So who knows? But I have to say, I really worried when I made that firm stance in the ground about cannabis and supporting plant medicine, and this was something I was going to stand for. That was about that. That was kind of, the straw that broke the camel's back for them. And I'm so thankful, because I feel like the journey my kids have been on, they haven't had to face. They called their dad's 88-year-old first generation, primarily speak Italian grandparents. So they called him, to tell them about Kai's transition, and his 88-year-old father had serious questions. So how do I spell Kai? So not one negative feedback, and then was so honored because Kai's middle name, do you want to explain your middle name?
I got to choose a middle name too.
How fun.
And so, my grandpa, my noodle, his name is Davide, and my dad's middle name, I believe, is Davide.
So David with an E.
David with an E.
Yeah, Italian.
So
is
my middle name is Davide.
I love that.
He loved it. You got to tell him that you chose his name. I keep getting the chills.
See, that's the thing, one side doesn't get it, the other side gets it, you know what I mean? As long as that love's there.
But not even bounce a beat.
Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite things about being, queer in that community is...
You're gay. You're not questioning.
Well, queer is kind of an umbrella.
Can I just be queer? Do you see how finally I did?
It depends on what kind of context you put queer into.
So you can be gender queer, or you can obviously be have your sexuality be queer as well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gay. I'm a gay man. And then I identify as queer too.
Queer's a diverse term.
And we took that term back.
Yes.
Yeah, we took that term back.
I just took it today.
Oh, you're taking it back?
I just learned I can
That was
be
something
queer.
I thought.
Because it used to be a derogatory term. Like if you said queer, it would be like saying the F word, which that word to me, when I hear it, even when gay people say the F word, I'm just like, why would you say that?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't get it.
And even the abbreviated version, I'm just like,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But what I was gonna say is, as gay people, queer people, trans people, for me, yes, my family's religious. We ended up working it out, which is great. I'm really close with them. But the chosen family that you get to pick yourself, you know what I mean? Like, you're my chosen family. You know what I mean? You're my chosen family. It's like having these connections and relationships, it's not just about blood. You know what I mean? Like, blood is great, but if your blood's not there to support you, like, find that family other places. And I feel bad for folks, like kids that are in rural areas, like imagine growing up where you were, and you were in Kai's situation, and you were trans, you know what I mean? Like, that would have probably been terrible.
Well, and what's really interesting, I find I'm most shocked, because I'm still friends with all of those people. I think, I never wanted it to just look, I wanted my world to look how I want to see the world, which is people of all different backgrounds. And what I was really shocked, when we did the first post about Kai, it was so positive, because Kai came out on Valentine's Day, which was an amazing gift.
Last year?
This year.
Yes, this is all new.
This is brand new.
Yes.
Yes.
I had just seen
came out, like,
Krista, yeah, I remember.
Valentine's Day, and he actually came out the day before Valentine's to his sister and his dad, and I was just like,
No, I knew for a very no. I knew for a very long time.
No,
I
okay.
waited.
Can I tell the story?
You go for it.
So,
yes, please do.
Yes.
Months ago, I told my sister first, because of course she's my sister. I'm most comfortable with telling her.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she was wearing headphones, so I don't think she heard much.
I did hear you. I just did the whole sisterly thing of being all, oh, okay, I accept you. I accept you, I don't mind.
What's for dinner?
And then recently, the night before Valentine's Day, when the day that I told Mom was on Valentine's Day, but the night before that, we went ice skating with Bella and her friends.
Mm-hmm.
And
you said-
I pulled one of her friends aside, who I was most comfortable talking to.
That friend was also non-binary. They were one of my
Yes.
really close
I thought
friends.
they were gender fluid.
Non-binary.
What's the difference?
The gender fluid, you go by both. Female and male, non-binary, you go by they, them. So you don't have a gender.
Okay.
And so
Thank you.
we talked about it. We skated around the ice. I helped her many times because she was the best of skaters.
Yeah.
So we talked about
Takes
it.
practice.
Yeah.
She's doing her best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's doing her best.
And so we were just skating around talking about it. And since I didn't think Bella heard me the first time, her friend encouraged me to get Bella over to a corner where I could talk to her. And so I
We're in a
did.
public ice rink.
Oh yeah.
Where else are you gonna go to the corner where no one else is there?
Yeah.
Act like you're on your phone at the same time so
Yeah.
no one thinks
It's
you're
like,
just waiting.
Hey.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I told her again, and she was like, okay. And then we told all her other friends who were there.
Yeah, it's
they
like
were
a-
so
And what do
chill.
you say?
What do you mean, like how?
Like, how did you tell them?
And at that point, had you already picked your name, or were you just trying to?
I actually had already chosen a name like a few weeks before. I really hadn't.
I love that you were prepared. You're like, we're doing this. This is who I am.
Yeah.
Get with the program.
Yeah.
I was nervous. So I was like, hey, so I'm trans, and I'd like to be known as Kai, and my pronouns are now he, him.
Yeah, kind of like
And I chill with
yeah.
it. And then,
Practicing. You practice
Yeah.
with your friends, which is why I think friends are the most important when it
Yeah.
comes to coming out. Because my best recommendation to all my friends when they're like, how do I come out? Tell your friends first, tell your siblings, and then practice it with them. And then when you're finally comfortable and safe, like Mom said, you can tell your parents, and that's my best advice.
and
Good
then
advice.
I had to text my friends because they weren't there. That my name is now Kai, and I'd like to be known using the pronouns he, him. And they were completely fine. They are LGBTQ. Then Bella's one friend had helped me get ready to talk to my dad. I told my dad first because he's more chill, and he wouldn't like go
there. We're not even there yet.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
It's just because
Seriously.
that's so crazy. Tell Mom.
I know.
My favorite child, but apparently the children have favorite
Awesome.
parents.
I love that.
The craziest part is when I first met their dad, he was totally homophobic.
Mhm.
So he was sure that my fabulous gay best friends would want to sleep with him, and I was like, trust me, you're not.
That's
their
what they all
type.
think. That's what they
Yeah,
all
that's what
think.
They're like,
Yeah,
these
and
are like
so
attracted to
he
you.
personally has had this huge journey over 15 years where
Wow.
now he's obviously, marching and
Love
wrestling
that.
singlets and, gay
Oh,
pride. Right,
love
so
that.
Super
yeah, so now
supportive.
he's super supportive, but he's more chill, which is his
Yeah,
village
so
play.
Because he doesn't
Like
get
my
it, which
sister
is something I
said.
find interesting. Is like he doesn't get it, whereas Mom's been around the community and is like, I understand. Now let's do everything to make
Yeah.
sure you're comfortable and happy. Whereas Dad's like, oh, so now what do I do? Time for bed. It's 12 a.m. I'm tired.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
basically
sure.
That was pretty much
and,
Dad's.
Yeah, that was
But you cried, you were upset.
I wasn't upset. I was nervous. I was
Emotional.
scared.
Yeah.
It's getting it off your chest.
Yeah.
One that's like interesting thing to point out too is like even with such a supportive family, it doesn't make it easy. You know what I mean? It's still an
Yeah.
internal and even though I'm sure you probably knew in your heart, Kai, that it would be fine, everyone would love and accept you for who you were, there probably was like a little bit of like doubt in your mind where
It's
it's
not
like,
like Kai was changing though.
right.
Kai is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's everybody else having to to see you.
Yeah, but people get
Right?
married all the time and they change their last name
Yeah.
from Miss to
Yeah,
Mrs.
sure.
and they get divorced. I mean, for me, it wasn't. I was more concerned because the next morning he made his dad swear to secrecy.
Yeah.
And
Because he likes to spoil things.
Oh, like to you? Like he didn't want him to tell you?
Yes, so I wake up at like the crack of dawn, 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, and I've got Valentine's brunch planned, and I'm like, oh, Mia at the time has something to tell you, and I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, it's serious, but I can't tell you. So I immediately am like, so was he bullied? Was he molested? Yes or no? Like, I'm
Right, your
like,
mind is like-
Metro. I am like so upset.
Dad is awful at keeping secrets, which is why I even.
He's like, I'm not gonna tell you the secret, but I'm gonna tell you there is a secret.
I know. When I came out, that was what Dad did, and I was so upset. I was like, I'm gonna tell her when we're out at dinner, and because they had gone on a guy trip, and Mom took me out to like. We went to Outback Steakhouse, sat down, and I was like, oh, by the way, Mom, I like a girl. And the entire week before, Dad had been like, so you gotta talk to her. And I was like, you are awful.
Kai finally told me, and I was
no, I didn't tell you. Dad told you because you kept bugging him about telling you.
Yeah.
And so then
It was
you
just
finally started talking to me about it.
Yeah.
And then
It was like
confused.
super early in the morning. I was sleeping.
You confused.
I was laying down in bed and I just heard Mom open the door and go, so I love you and I care about you. And I was like, what just happened? I'm not even awake. I'm not dressed. I'm under
Well,
the
and
covers.
Kai was actually one of the names that I had told the kids we really liked for a boy name.
You actually confused it for what was it?
Because Kai means ocean.
Yes,
in
you thought
Hawaiian
it was,
and Japanese. I thought it meant mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Win some, you lose some.
Ocean, mountain, you know.
Like
Potato, potato, you know.
Yeah.
I love the closeness that I feel between you guys, and like it's really a special thing. You know what I mean? Especially the two of you, because a lot of times with siblings, you have that like you love each other, but you're like, meh, 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 meh. And
Yeah.
you guys just seem like a team. And like, I know you're both still pretty young, but that will be such a valuable thing
I
later
know.
in life. You know what I mean?
Wait,
Having
though,
that
I
support.
gotta know. So Kai, your mom comes in. You now know Dad spoils it, right? And spoils it. So you hear "I love you" and you're like, "Oh shit, Dad told."
I was so confused because I wanted to tell her. I actually was going to tell her the same speech that I basically told Dad. I actually have it in my
you
notepad
had it
still.
written out in
I
your
have it
notepad.
still in my notepad.
Essay thrown away.
I won't. I was going to use that as like a template of what I was going to tell her. And
It's
then
like a
she came in,
spreadsheet.
I love you. Hey, I know this is new. I love you. It's Kai, right? And I was like, Dad told you? Because I had just woken up. And you were both
5 a.m.
It's like,
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Kai.
all creepy.
Mom's trying to be all wholesome and we're still trying to wake up.
Yeah. So that was Sunday, and by Monday at noon, we had the trans flag delivered from Amazon hanging on your door. By that afternoon, we had all the clothes. We ordered from Tomboy X, very gender fluid friendly
Awesome.
swimwear. I wanted to be
Which I
comfortable.
love, yeah.
By Friday, we had an appointment with the gender therapist. Every book on Amazon around trans parenting, the trans experience,
That's
I
what I
had purchased and read by Friday. And the therapist's best advice to me was your child doesn't need therapy, but you should probably let your child lead, perhaps.
Yeah, and she
know it
already
kind
bought
of-
18 books.
See, this is what I mean. This is the difference between her and Dad. Dad went straight to sleep and in the morning told her to just go talk to Kai, and then Mom's over here like, so therapy, right?
I got the trans mom. Like,
She's
I've
got
got t-shirts. I told you I had bumper stickers. I was ready to go. If we're gonna do this, we are in.
I
They are
love
so-
it.
Yeah.
They're the same, but they're so different.
So Kai,
yeah.
what do you like? How do you just feel normal now? Like, do you feel like whatever? I don't even know that it was a struggle, but whatever that was, where you thought, I'm not represented as who I want to represent myself as. However those words are, do you feel fuller, wholer? You know?
Like you said, I feel normal. You know, now I don't know what I felt. I just felt different about the name Mia and how it kind of used to be, say.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm Kai and I'm using he, him as pronouns, I guess you could say I feel normal. I definitely
And it's
feel
so
different.
early.
You feel different?
Yeah. it's just new. Like getting used to the name Kai, because like whenever my parents would call for me, I'm so used to hearing the name Mia, that when they started saying like Kai, dinner's ready. I'm like, who's Kai?
Like, who are they talking to?
And I'm like, oh wait, never mind.
Oh, it's me. That's right.
Is there any point or part of you that will miss Mia, or do you think Mia's not even gone? You just got a different name.
You know, I actually went to see a therapist after the day that we saw the gender therapist, and she said that other people, whenever they came out as trans, they felt like they had left a part in them behind, you know? And I really didn't know how to answer, but I kind of do feel like I left Mia behind. It's still there, it's just won't, you know.
It's hidden under a bunch of rocks. It's not going to resurface anything.
Yeah. Well, Krista, the same
she
questions.
almost never really was.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was almost like Mia was Kai.
Yeah,
Of
what-
some sort, right?
And I remember watching that really great interview that Cher and Oprah did years ago, you know, about kind of Chaz Bono's journey and how Cher would call, you know, Chastity at that time.
Yeah.
She would call her voicemail and she missed her voice, right? Because, and it had been so long. For us, I mean, I think it's such an advantage and it's such a gift that Kai had such clarity at such a young age, because it wasn't like all of a sudden one morning. I mean, Kai's been Kai all along, and you know, we're really blessed that way. And what's been amazing, we didn't expect to be as public as we were, right? Because this is just, we're not even 6 weeks. I think maybe 6 weeks.
And I'm loving the Facebook post, by the way.
Yeah,
Like,
so
you're doing
we-
a lot of educating.
Yeah,
That's
and
important.
I really started, because there was so much I realized that I didn't know, and we did the initial post, and we got so many great questions. We got Mormon moms that I had grown up with, and they were like, I don't know what LGBTQ means.
Right.
I don't know what it means to be an ally, because they are still in my hometown. I don't know, does this mean that you're buying your child a penis? I was like, just like if Bella wants boobs, this is not the time for that. But thank you for asking.
Right.
Right.
No, we don't soon
I mean,
enough, yeah.
Kai would also like.
We are talking about
We're not
11-year-old. You
getting
might want to
that
mind your
either.
business.
So I think, you know, a lot of them had healthy questions, and Kai really, as I was asking you those questions, and these kids are so more educated, and that verbiage changes all the time. Even the gender therapist was like, oh, I heard a new word today. You know? Because it is constantly in flux, and Kai was the one who really insisted, let's do, you know, Facebook Live and let's answer a lot of these questions for these people, because if he can use his story and live authentically and encourage other people, not just, you know, who are transitioning, but also, who
Anybody.
want to be supportive.
Anybody.
And so it's been great. So that's kind of really where our kind of transparent, I was like, oh, mom humor, transparent.
Transparent.
I'm a
Hashtag transparent. I love that.
I know, so.
I get it.
Isn't it so great that this is about a month in and we're having this
Oh my gosh,
conversation?
I think
And
that's
seeing you here, I would have thought we were years in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
love the style, like I said, the dapper haircut.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Your vibe, yeah. You got the
Oh.
vibe, and
That's
it's
awesome.
just, you feel it with both of you. What do you think, like, what could you say to other kids that'll probably be much older than you before they could actually go in and say, you know, I was assigned the wrong, I don't know what it
Parts.
is when you're born, or identity. I don't even know if it's parts and spirit. Oh, I wanted to tell you, both of you, the Native Americans refer to LGBTQIA or maybe stop at
Trans.
as
Two-spirited.
two-spirited. That's what they call. So it's not a
They
letter.
were revered people. Like if
It's
you
a
were two-spirited, it was a blessing,
It's
and they
a
were
blessing. So read about that
Look up
in
that.
the Dene and the Navajo tribes.
Amazing.
And we just learned this, but it's like you're two-spirited. All those other things, it's a double whammy. There's
Yeah.
something very unique
Mhm.
and special about not only what you go through, but how you know. Like, how great for both of you to know who you are at such a young age. Like, I'm still struggling. I just learned today I might be a kid.
Yeah,
I
you're,
mean,
seriously.
you say that we both figured it out, but like, we're still learning. I mean,
Yeah.
we're still young. Like I said, I'm queer. I'm still trying to figure that out, and Kai is still like learning through the therapy and reading all the
It's a
books I was
journey.
buying. It's gonna take time before we're like,
I think it's though that I think what we're so impressed by from our generation is that you are so able to
Self-aware.
have such a mature
Yes.
conversation about. I don't ever remember being in 7th and 6th grade and having a conversation about gender or sexuality. Like maybe I would go out with the boy, but it was usually like one of those check yes or no
They
boxes.
sent us
and
to
a
those
no.
weird period classes. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't even talk about it at home. It was
Yeah.
like, hey, you're
Yeah.
gonna go learn about menstruation in this room by yourself and don't ask your mom.
Well, yeah, and I think the history is so important, you know what I mean? And especially for the younger generation.
From Lori Lytell, our gender counselor, I of course was sure we needed to go to gender counseling for a year.
Yeah.
Because the old science, which it changes so fast
Right.
in trans medicine, was that you had to live and go to counseling for a year before you could even do hormone blockers. And I didn't realize that is old medicine. That's like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I
the,
don't know.
so the gender counselor was like, hey, you don't need me and your kid is fine. Just keep raising awesome humans. Good. Here, thank you for the money, but I'm good if I never have to see you guys again. All the best on your journey.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. I was like, well, I've already knocked this out of the park.
Yeah,
Just
like,
don't screw it up, right? I know, as a parent, this is like what you want to hear.
Sure.
But I have to say, you know, there's a lot I didn't understand about the medicine part. And, you know, for Kai, there's a lot of things I think that's really important when you talk about gender dysphoria. So a lot of kids, when they go through puberty in the wrong gender, and they don't feel like a girl, having to go through, you know, growing breasts and a cycle, those are things that are horrible. I mean, they were horrible when we all had to deal with
Right.
and I wanted to be a girl, right? It's even worse. And so gender blockers, or hormone blockers, excuse me, are essentially just an injection either quarterly or they actually do like almost like a neuroplant for birth control, but they do that for hormones. And it's once a year, the little implant, and it just essentially avoids puberty.
Oh, great.
So it's completely reversible.
Yeah.
So for parents that are out there that are like, oh, my kid's just confused, you can certainly do something like that where you allow them to get the haircut, wear the clothes, do a hormone blocker, but at least it buys them time to
Sure.
have clarity.
Yes.
Because typically they won't start doing any type of hormone therapy. Some kids just know it's who they are. They came out of the womb being like, no,
Yep.
this was wrong. And they know, but a lot of kids, it'll take till they're 16 or 17. And then, of course, they can go through hormones. And then when they start going through hormones, they'll experience the puberty that is within the gender that they identify.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of really great
That's great.
resources,
Yes.
yeah, that I think are really important for people to understand. And as a parent, I just had no idea.
Right.
I just want to buy myself that time
Yes.
Yep.
to have that maturity. And same thing, you know, there's some really great resources now. Legal aid will help with changing gender markers,
Really?
legal name changes. Oh yeah, because for
Oh,
us,
great.
yeah, I mean that's a really great
Now,
option.
are you guys going through any of those processes of like birth certificate changes and stuff like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
that exciting?
Yeah. I mean, he got to pick a middle name, so that was exciting.
Yeah.
Grandpa was really excited.
Oh.
Which is really great. So yeah, so we are going through all of that
Yeah.
right now, and we're really lucky. You know, Las Vegas has had such a thriving LGBTQ community
Yes.
for so
It's a
long.
good place to
The
be.
Huntridge Clinic is amazing. When I called to make the appointment to go see them, the receptionist was trans. It was like, oh, mommy, we got you. I was
We
like,
got you, girl.
I love this. We have come to the right doctor.
Well, I'd love to hear a little bit about the summer camp that you're going to be going to too. We talked about that before we were filming, but I'd love to have you share that as well.
So, Camp Aranutik, it's hard to say.
Aranutik.
Aranutik.
Our new tech.
Aranutik. So it's a it's a Native American word.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's specifically for kids. They also do one for families. So if your family is really struggling with that transition, and the idea is to give them a safe space where everybody's like them. They don't have to explain that I was born different because everybody's different.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like they said, they actually hosted 2 Zooms on 2 different days. Last week, technically, kind of this week, and they basically talked about what it would look like, everything, and how they were going to do it because of COVID.
Sure. So there's probably. Yeah.
So, the camp director basically said, you don't have to share your story, and you don't have to tell, like, if you're genderqueer, trans. This is just a camp to have fun and to have people who are like you around you.
I love it.
And so it's just like a normal camp. You have rock climbing, tubing, a lake, kayaking, stuff like that. And you still have a cabin. You have, and since 1 week and 2 week were full, I had to go with 3 week. And so you would be with people who are like you. Of course, you'd know their pronouns and you'd know their names and the names they go by. And of course, you just have fun like a normal camp.
I want to close this show by saying what an honor it was to speak with this inspiring family today and to air this during Pride Month and during a time where celebrating gay rights and trans rights is more important than it's ever been. I learned so much from Kai, Bella, and Krista Whitley, and I hope that everyone enjoyed this episode as much as we all did recording it. If there is someone in your life